It's a non-conference showdown in South Bend as Texas A&M and Notre Dame get set to do battle. We are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Aggies and the Irish. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, we get going. Make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media channels, as well as our website, SECUnfiltered.com. And as always, we're brought to you by our friends over at FANDUEL. Visit FANDUEL.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FANDUEL.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. Texas A&M travels to South Bend in a non-conference clash to take on Notre Dame. They're looking for revenge for what happened a season ago in College Station, and also some big-time early season momentum here in 2025. Guys, we are here previewing, predicting, and breaking down this game between the Texas A&M Aggies and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Guys, as always, I am Chris Phillips. Joining me once again, my right-hand man, my partner in crime, and one of the best in the business, Cole the Bear Thompson, joins me. Bear, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. We got a really exciting Week 3 matchup, non-conference showdown between two of the premier brands in college football, and certainly a game that's got big-time playoff implications on it.
Chris, what do you think is more shocking going into this matchup? Notre Dame entering a gotta-have moment just to secure a 1-1 start to the season, or that your leading rusher on both teams that feature two of the best running back rooms in college football is your quarterback in Marcel Reed and CJ Carr? Because those are things that are just facts going into this matchup. Marcel Reed's looked awesome as a passer, but somehow he is also leading the Aggies on the ground game. You have a better receiving core than you expected, but yet still, I want to see what this rushing attack can be. And by the way, are we going to watch as Mike Denbrock turns away from a guy in Jeremiah Love to be your bell cow bruiser and turn to CJ Carr as a dual threat passer? Who knows? But I'll tell you what, Touchdown Jesus is going to be watching a spectacle on Saturday night out in South Bend, Indiana.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one, Bear. Obviously, you look at this non-conference clash, one of the fun non-conference matchups we still have on the schedule, and certainly a rematch of what happened a season ago in the first ever game for Mike Elko in College Station. Bear, like you mentioned, this one taking place Saturday, September the 13th, 6:30 Central Time on NBC down there in South Bend, Indiana at Notre Dame Stadium. Texas A&M, Bear, as it sits right now, a 6.5-point underdog. The over-under is set at 48.5. Notre Dame leads the all-time series 4-2, and of course, the last time these two teams met was a season ago. Notre Dame won that football game by a final score of 23-13. And Bear, I wanted to start as we looked at this game, like you mentioned. We don't know a lot about Notre Dame necessarily. We've seen them one time. I think it's kind of weird. They had a bye week in week 2. But we did see them against Miami, drop that game to Carson Beck and the Hurricanes. CJ Carr, their starting quarterback. You mentioned, I feel like offensively for them, and it makes sense, Jeremiah Love is the thing that makes this thing go, right? Like, I think they need to be productive on the ground. I'm sure they understand that. But CJ Carr, still an inexperienced guy, new quarterback. What is Mike Elko's game plan against him? How do they attack that Notre Dame offense? Because I think it's got to start with, you got to force the issue and make CJ Carr beat you through the air. Are you able to contain him, keep him in the pocket, keep him from extending drives with his legs? I do think it's going to be a big key. But we got to think Jeremiah Love gets more involved in this football game, right?
So I was wrong. It wasn't the leading rusher is CJ Carr. The leading carrier is CJ Carr. That matchup against Miami, CJ Carr had 11 carries. Jadarian Price had 6. Jeremiah Love had 10. You have got to be able to trust what you have in number 4. When you are given a Lamborghini, he has got to be able to fly down the track. You don't let sit in I-45 traffic for an hour and a half and just not let the engine run. Like, that is what Jadarian Price, that is what Jeremiah Love is. He's mobile. He is great. He's elusive. He has good power. He has good blend. You got to get him more involved. And the thing is that for Texas A&M, one of the elements that really slowed them down in the matchup against UTSA was their inability to stop the run with Robert Henry. Henry was the offense for the Roadrunners. He was able to make plays left and right. He got upfield. He was able to break off tackles at the second and third level of the defense. He had multiple explosive runs. So if you're Mike Denbrock, yeah, you feel really good about your quarterback and how mobile he is or how he can create plays outside the pocket. You feel good about your wide receiver room. I would too, after the way that I saw both Malachi Fields and Jordan Faison have a couple of big-time grabs. Mekhi Gilbert. You still have Jaden Greathouse on this roster. Will Pauling, I think, is a good receiver. But this is a team that should adapt to what is its biggest strength. And that is the ground game. There are very few rosters that are going to be as polished when it comes to the 1-2 attack in the backfield than Notre Dame with Darian Price and Jeremiah Love. You got to lean into that. And knowing that Texas A&M has had its struggles by stopping the run, and they have been able to get to the quarterback a lot faster, and they have been able to put pressure on a quarterback in the passing game, I feel like that this is a game to where you want to trust your rushing attack. And if they take away the ground game, okay, you watch as CJ Carr went up against a much more improved Miami defense headlined by Corey Featherman, and he was able to deliver in the fourth quarter. You saw the maturity, and you saw the growth, and you saw not too big for the moment. But let's not make the moment too big for him by taking away the best element that is, hey, we have 2 running backs that could easily go for 1,000 yards on any given Saturday and any single season. Let's go ahead and trust what they are for our team against a really good front seven headlined by Mike Elko calling the shots.
Bear, once again, Jeremiah Love in that first game against Miami, just 10 carries for 33 yards, 3.3 yards per carry. Carr went 19 of 30 for 221 against Miami, 2 touchdowns, interception. He was sacked 3 times, which leads me to my next point. What does Cassius Howell do for an encore, Bear? One of the all-time performances we saw. Granted, I understand who the competition was with Utah State, but I don't care. 3 straight sacks on 3 straight plays. Again, I've never heard of that in my entire life. Cassius Howell is just one of many on that front seven that is a lethal piece, and Howell was a guy that I think many of us thought could be a breakout player. Again, you surrendered 3 sacks to a Miami front seven that's really tough, but it's going to be the same challenge yet again. I think you are right defensively, Bear. It's can you overwhelm the run game, get after CJ Carr, force the issue a little bit. I trust Mike Elko here defensively. Like, if there's anybody out there that's going to put together a really good game plan, heck, we saw it last year. Different dynamic. Obviously, these teams were different, but this is his side of the football, right? I am curious for A&M. What does a retooled rushing defense look like, right? It's got to be better. First 2 weeks, obviously, some inferior competition. Now we're really going to find out what the Aggies are all about on that side of the football, especially in a hostile environment.
Well, they did great against Utah State. I think Miles Davis had 10 carries for 50 yards. They only allowed like 2.2 yards a play, 1 run of over 10 yards downfield. So they made the Aggies, the other Aggies, basically one-dimensional. If you were going to win this game, you're going to win through the air, and that was clear that it wasn't going to happen. The thing is that you still got 3 touchdowns through the air. So my big question is, are we going to see a 4-quarter defense of a Mike Elko squad? Because you already brought up Cassius Howell. Great game against Utah State. Secondary, a couple of big-time throws downfield. Allowed 3 touchdowns in coverage. And by the way, one was in the fourth quarter, so it was a really final score of 44-14. So it wasn't like this was a blowout, but still, you allowed a late touchdown. Can you play as aggressive in the secondary against better wide receivers? We talked about this when it comes to the run defense. Robert Henry had his way with this front seven, but now you're going up against a better rushing tandem. Well, last week, you saw as Utah State with Bryson Barnes and Anthony Garcia, they only had 172 passing yards, but they found their way to the end zone 3 times. You're getting a better quarterback in CJ Carr, and you're getting better weapons to go up against. So it's another test for Mike Elko when it comes to setting up formations, making sure that you're not playing too much of a press man coverage, not allowing people to win off the line of scrimmage. Those are things that you're going to have to see if you want to have some sustainability and really make this offense almost obsolete. So much so that now it comes back to your offense that has been scoring out the wazoo, 40-plus points in back-to-back games. It's a good stepping stone. You don't want this game to become a shootout. I think that this, to me, is going to be a big storyline of can you play 4-quarter defense at all 3 levels? The front seven, the linebacking room, the secondary. Can you not miss tackles? Can you line up in certain spots that are evasive enough to where you are not making misassignments and you're taking away the receivers downfield? Because if you do that, A&M has an offense this year that is very potent, that is going to be able to strike quick.
Bear, we've been talking a lot about Notre Dame's running game. How about A&M's? Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens. I think it comes back a lot to Marcel Reed as well, what they've been able to do with him using his legs. And, I mean, this is the stage is set for Marcel Reed, right? I mean, that was the big question coming into the season, his progression, his growth. Has he taken the next step? The wide receivers have been fantastic. I think that matchup with the Notre Dame defensive backs going to be a lot of fun. Casey Concepcion's a dog. Mario Craver has been big time for them. Terry Bussey. Like they are deep at the wide receiver position, but it all comes back to what you're able to do under center. Again, you hate to oversimplify, but that's the fact of the matter, Bear, right? I mean, you need other guys to step up around him, but Marcel Reed, now's your time. Now's your opportunity to show the nation that you've taken that next step.
See, I agree with you, but this is also a game I want to know that you can trust the run game. And I understand that, so far, Marcel Reed's been great. Le'Veon Moss had 68 rushing yards and a big touchdown against Utah State. But the thing is that Miami's rushing attack was able to get after Notre Dame. Wasn't elite, 119 yards, 3.1 yards of play, 1 touchdown, only 2 runs of over 10 yards downfield. But Miami's a B running back room. You have an A+ running back room. And I think that Notre Dame has a great defense. I think they're going to have a good defense for the rest of the year. But you are also going to go up against better defenses, or at least quality defenses, throughout the rest of the season. Missouri shut down Daniel Highshaw and Jalen Daniels. You got to face off against them later on in the season. Texas has made offenses obsolete on the ground. You got to go travel to Austin to take them down. South Carolina has been very good at containing the run so far. So can you have that solid rushing attack that we all expected? Because right now, we know that Marcel Reed can beat you through the air, and largely that's due to the addition of Casey Concepcion, big addition of Mario Craver, more comfortability running the offense underneath Colin Klein this past year. There's things that you look at and just say, Marcel Reed is certainly acclimated to this role, and he's doing a good job, and he's making the right calls. But to me, the big question turns to, do you have that secondary punch? Because what if in this game, good press man coverage from Leonard Moore, from the secondary of Notre Dame, they take away a Casey Concepcion? Mario Craver's not able to win off the line of scrimmage. And what's supposed to be a 50-yard pass downfield ends up being more so like a 10-yard game because it's the only way that he's going to get involved. Do you have the capability of trusting your rushing attack to be able to get yards and open up the playbook for Colin Klein on 2nd and 3rd down? Because that's something that hasn't been able to be tested at this point because the competition you've gone up against. It will 100% be tested in South Bend, Indiana on Saturday.
Yeah, you need, Bear, that big physical offensive line to really show up and ball out if you're Texas A&M. We talked about it all offseason. The experience, the depth. I think some have touted it maybe being the best offensive line in the SEC. I think it potentially very well could be. You need them to show up in a game like this because when I think of Marcus Freeman's Notre Dame, think Notre Dame football in general, but especially right now, it is a brand of physicality, of elite defense. Like, I think Notre Dame is really, really good on the defensive side of the football. I am curious, though, if this is going to be a lower scoring affair, kind of a higher scoring shootout. I wonder what the flow of this game is. There are playmakers all over the place. You mentioned both these running back rooms. I think CJ Carr could have a big game building off of what he did against Miami. And I like Marcel Reed. I like what I've seen thus far. The passing game has been good. I mean, again, take into account who they've played, but they've been very explosive. You see the potential, you see the talent, you see the playmakers. So I'm excited to see just kind of what the flow of this game is. And Bear, there's obviously a lot on the line, right? I mean, listen, both teams, especially for Miami, especially for Notre Dame, you think about what happened in the Miami game. I mean, Bear, can Notre Dame afford another loss? Maybe one? I guess it was to this caliber of team when it comes to their playoff hunt, playoff chase, if you will.
Let me ask you, what do you think is the way to be able to slow down this Texas A&M roster? For me, do you trust that the rushing attack is going to get there, so you force Marcel Reed to beat you through the air?
Yeah, I think you have to start with the run game. I think if they're getting 5-6 a pop, you're going to have a really difficult time. I think A&M should be able to do kind of whatever they want if they're able to run the football at that rate.
Yeah. For A&M, it's a big win. It's a big moment because if you get to go travel on the road and you get to show that you are a team that can get that signature win. And it's been something that, you don't worry about Texas A&M showing up for the big moments. And we talked about this multiple times throughout the show for the last 2 years. A&M wakes up for the games that have the number attached to it. They slow down and they don't appear for the Mississippi State battles, for the Arkansas games. They allow too close for comfort against teams that are inferior to them. So I don't worry about that. But getting that signature road win, I think truly allows you to kind of feel like that you have taken the step in the right direction with Mike Elko. You fixed the flaws from a season ago. Your ability to play great, exceptional defense in the secondary that blankets wide receivers, that shuts down a quarterback that has high hopes. And then you put a team that last season had its fair share of faults, but still was able to come into your backyard and beat you with a new quarterback. You're able to do the same and maybe a little bit more that puts you on notice for the rest of the SEC to pay attention to. Because you are right, it's very easy to trust a Mike Elko defense. It's very easy to trust a Cassius Howell coming off of the edge. I love Torian York. I think that he is the most underappreciated player in the SEC. I think their secondary has been better over the first 2 games than it was down the stretch in the last 4 games of last season. And they have a passing attack that is potent. So they feel like that they've made the adjustments that is going to make them a threat this year in the SEC. But we talk about this with like Tennessee all the time. To truly believe that things have turned the corner and that we are watching a program actually live up to its billing, you got to get that signature road win. Can you get that signature road win if you are Notre Dame in this backyard? For Notre Dame, I think that we're at a pace now because of the 12-team college football playoff. If you go 10-2 because of that branding, because of the logo, because of what that atmosphere is, you're in the playoff. So at this point, it's win out. You got to beat Pitt. You got to beat USC. You got to win against Purdue. You can't afford to have a sluggish game against anybody else. But still, it's not the end all be all. Again, if you end up losing to a Texas A&M squad that finishes, 10, 11 in the college football playoff, and then Miami, 10, 11 in the college football playoff, it's not going to hurt your resume. You just now have no room for error at this point. But also, you just want to show that you do have the personnel that is actually potent enough to go win. Because there will be people out there that will constantly say, Notre Dame does not play a rigorous schedule. Notre Dame does not play up to its standard. Notre Dame, because of it's a non-conference every single week, they get to pick and choose when they want to show up. The last thing you want to do is not show up for this game and then beat up on inferior competition and people give you the benefit, give you the doubt that you're not going to be able to do anything in the playoff.
It's a big one, no doubt. Again, a rematch of last year, Bear. I know Texas A&M still got that nasty taste in their mouth from the season opener. They want to get their get back and get their revenge. This one is going to be a lot of fun. Huge opportunity for the Aggies. Marcel Reed, Mike Elko, that entire squad getting one. Like you said, good teams are able to win games like these at home. Really, really good teams, exceptional teams, dare I say great teams. They go on the road. And with these big-time ranked matchups, as an underdog even maybe, they find a way to steal these, get these dubs, what it would mean for A&M to be 3-0 going into the bye week with SEC play awaiting on the other side. Bear, that being said, let's lock in some picks. Let's lock in some predictions. Would you like the honors? You want me to start?
I'll go first. I'm very excited for this game. I thought this was going to be a must-see matchup in week 3 just because of I think Notre Dame is good enough to be in the playoff. And I do think that CJ Carr is a better quarterback for Mike Denbrock's system than Riley Leonard. And we watched it at times, not for a full 4-quarter period, but certainly in drives where it felt like that he was taking over the game. He was building himself up and he was putting himself in a position where you know that things are going to turn the corner. Still got to build that relationship in the passing attack. You got to trust what you have in the ground game. You cannot afford to turn away from Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. You have to let them be the guys. And then when they're not, you feel confident in your quarterback to get the job done. But until that happens, trust what you have in 2 of the best running backs in college football. I've been pleasantly surprised with Marcel Reed. In fact, for my money, I think he's the most non-talked about gamer that we have seen through the first 2 weeks of college football. 0 turnovers, only been sacked twice, 7 total touchdowns, completion percentage around 66%. And largely, I think that the confidence in his game has been the selling point for where this team has transcended. A lot of people were asking, hey, is he going to be able to go in this game? Is he dealing with an injury? It was reported by Alyssa Lang after the 4th quarter when Miles O'Neal came in. They could have played him if he wanted to come back in. They thought at this point, let's better yet rest him for the South Bend game. So I think he's full go. Who is going to be the more aggressive team on the ground? I think it's Notre Dame. Who is going to be the team that gets the more firework plays? I think it's Texas A&M. And right now, based off of how I feel about Notre Dame's defense going up against Miami, and based off how I feel about Texas A&M's defense going up against both Utah State and UTSA, I could see this being a very high-scoring game. In fact, I'll just tell you right now, one of my best bets this week is the over-hitting in this matchup. If it comes down to fireworks, and I think it's coming down to fireworks, you're giving me Marcel Reed or CJ Carr. I never thought I would say this. I think Marcel Reed has more of that pop. I think Marcel Reed right now has more of that gotta have it factor moments. And he's going to show you why he has proven that Texas A&M has turned the corner in 2025. The 8-4 jokes coming to an end. The passing attack that was pedestrian, now it's a strength. Casey Concepcion said all offseason, whatever school he goes to, they're going to be in the college football playoff. You're going to see why. I think Texas A&M gets revenge. I think they go into South Bend, Indiana, and they get a 38-31 final score victory to secure a 3-0 start in the 2024-5 college football season. Notre Dame, I think your run game is going to be there. I just don't think you're going to have that firework to explode in the fourth quarter.
Bear, I'm glad you said one of your best bets is the over because I was leaning that way as well. You made me feel even better about it. Yeah, this one's interesting, right? I think it's Texas A&M has had success the first 2 weeks, but it's been kind of quiet. There's just been so many other storylines in the SEC and some other high-profile matchups where, A&M ho-hum has kind of taken care of their business the first 2 weeks. Obviously, I think the rushing defense has been a bit of a concern or a storyline, if you will. But the way Marcel Reed's playing on the other side, been really impressive. The passing game as a whole, I think Aggies have wanted to see that, and they've certainly gotten that. From the Notre Dame side, obviously only one opportunity to see him against Miami. There were things that CJ Carr did that I liked. Obviously, the rushing attack with Jeremiah Love, that was really surprising, the way that they were unable to get more consistency out of the rushing, the run game, if you will. Dude, I love Marcus Freeman, by the way. Just total side note. I think he's one of the best coaches in college football. I'm excited to watch this chess match between Freeman and Elko as they go at it. Familiarity with these two programs meeting last year. The only reason I don't like my pick, Bear, is because you and I are on the same side, and I really do hate that, but I think you made a good point. I think Texas A&M, they get up for moments like this. They get up for games like this. I think the stars will be out. I think the stars will be bright for both sides. I don't think either's going to mess around from the standpoint they're going to establish the running game or do everything they can to establish the running game. Notre Dame is not going to win this football game without riding a guy like Jeremiah Love in the backfield and him featuring and starring and being one of their most productive pieces. And Texas A&M, I think you got to get Le'Veon Moss, Reuben Owens, Marcel Reed in the run game going to open up things in the pass game. I do agree with you, though. I love the receiver room. I love the downfield shots, the potential for the big play. I think Texas A&M just finds a way, man. I think it's a really close back-and-forth game going on the road into a hostile environment. Bear, I'll say this. Last year around this time, I said that I did not feel like Texas A&M in game one of a brand new head coach and a brand new culture. I didn't feel like they were quite ready to go out and beat a team of Notre Dame's caliber and win a football game like that. I sit here a year later, I'm not singing that same tune. I think Texas A&M is ready to go out, win a game of this magnitude, beat a team the caliber of Notre Dame, who, again, very good, but has their own questions. I think with CJ Carr at quarterback and some other things, great game, back and forth. Give me Texas A&M 30-28 to find a way late to secure the road victory. Like we said, this will be a big tell for us when it comes to A&M. Good teams can win these kind of games at home, but to go on the road and do it, you got to be special. Maybe this Texas A&M team is special in 2025. Maybe, just maybe, like you mentioned, the 8-4 jokes, thing of the past, and we're knocking on the college football playoff. But I think A&M going into the bye week is going to make a huge statement Saturday night, 30-28. I'm going with the Aggies.
Now we know for a fact that Notre Dame is winning this football game because we both decided to go ahead and pick the Aggies.
That's what I'm fearful of, honestly, when I heard you were also going A&M. But, I mean, listen, the stage is set. Aggies, the stage is set. You are now kind of taking the center stage after a quiet first 2 weeks. We're going to really find out what this team's about, Bear. There's no doubt. I mean, we've been trying to nitpick and read between the lines of the UTSA and the Utah State games, and that's what you have to do. But we're going to find out in this one who you really are. I will tell you, I agree with you, though. I think points, a lot of offense, back and forth. Should be a really fun, entertaining game. So we're both going with Texas A&M, guys. Would love to hear from you all. A&M, Notre Dame, do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Who wins the game Saturday night in South Bend? Guys, when we get out of here, do want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel because, as always, we are brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. FanDuel is getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5. If it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action. today. Guys, once again, that's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Check us out via podcast, where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. For Cole the Bear Thompson, I'm Chris Phillips. Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your one, and we'll talk to you all on the other side.